Megan Bontrager is a horror and SFF author currently based in Ireland, where she is a PhD candidate. Megan received her BFA in English from the University of Central Florida and her MA in writing from Johns Hopkins University. She is represented by Clara Tweeton of the Olswanger Literary Agency. Over to you.
Thank you. We're clopping down right in the middle here. You see the blurb here. Our protagonist Theo is going through it, trying to find her sister. And at this point in the book, right, kind of in the middle, she is turning to some conventional people to see if they can't give her some leads, given all that she's seen out in the woods. The neighborhood had thrived in the era of stockyards and meatpacking, the behemoth brick and metal-sided buildings rising like the town's pale imitation of skyscrapers over a single road that now showed signs of disuse. One was a brewery for a time, another a dance studio. But no life seemed able to take root beneath the faded signs of Bricknell cattle and Mercy stockyards, leaving nothing but empty space for transient groups of outcasts and junkies. A few of the buildings were occasionally reclaimed as ticketed haunted houses, poker club headquarters, and the like. They were far enough from the park, the only reason anyone would ever consider coming to this town, that they sat relatively undisturbed, their temporary inhabitants anonymous. Parked far enough from the address Wesley emailed me that I felt I didn't need to worry about any of his friends, contemporaries, constituents, taking note of my car. I was in no place to judge anyone. But given the nature of our correspondence, something told me it would be safer to keep my license plate out of sight and out of mind. The morning following my disappearance from the search party, I had woken to a barrage of emails, calls, and texts from my mother's friends, all of whom had assumed I had simply gone off to get drunk in the woods. They thought I'd pass out after soaking my head in the liquor that I stashed in the back of my truck and hadn't thought to reach out, save to reprimand me for bailing less than an hour into the search. I couldn't explain to them what I'd seen, what I'd done. Even as Quinn extracted the bullet from my thigh and wrapped the wound, I'd refused to go to the hospital. I couldn't explain it. What was I supposed to say? What was I supposed to have seen? I told Quinn and Delilah everything, and they hadn't once flinched away from the sheer ridiculousness of my story. Not even at the appearance of my double. I'd written it off as something unreal, a product of a lack of sleep and the pressure of the day. I glossed over it in my account, and they didn't press me. They'd shut the blinds, drawn the curtains, locked the doors. No one in town had seen 3 men with primordial hellhounds strolling about, so I could only assume they remained in the forest, if they existed at all. How was I to know? When the 2 of them left, not a second shy of 24 hours later, I'd slunk to my laptop and opened Wesley O'Shea's email. I barely knew my own face in the dark laptop screen. Delilah had helped me into the shower, back turned while I washed the day from my skin, yet I still looked like a mad woman, bedraggled and wild-eyed. Maybe I was a mad woman. If I so willingly descended into a web of conspiracy theorists and urban legend sympathizers, I must have been at least a little mad. Or a lot. I chewed at the ragged edge of my middle fingernail as I hastened along the dilapidated sidewalk, through the open gate to the cannery, and toward the ramp leading to the single door in or out. Outside the door sat a man on a stool who looked exactly as I expected anyone here to look. His beard was long, his cargo pants stained. A picture of Mothman adorned an overlarge shirt and that half covered his tattooed arms. Christ. "You lost, ma'am," he said as I stepped onto the ramp. Not much of a greeting. I was prepared for this. I reached into my back pocket for the printed copy of Wesley's email, having guessed ahead of time that my word wouldn't be enough for people like this. Was Wesley O'Shea here? I didn't want to ask, but I had been spotted, so here I stood. Before I could even unfold the paper, his brows quirked. He answered with practiced confidence. "Why would Wesley O'Shea be here?" He said it without a smile, screwing with me, standing in my way because he could. I wondered what it might be like to smack the tattoos off his pimply skin, to rip at the curly beard hair that stretched down his thick neck. "Oh, fuck off," I snapped. It was my luck that some freak show in a Mothman t-shirt would be the one thing standing between me and the only lead I had. I spun on my heel. "I'll call him myself. From my car." His hands flew up. "Whoa! Don't get bent out of shape." I know Wesley, obviously. He held his palm flat, gesturing for the paper I'd crushed in my haste. "We're not exactly a conventional, convention. Gotta keep the non-believers at bay." "Sure," I deadpanned, my lips pulled into a hard line. I waited as he scanned the email thread, eyes widening as his gaze darted between me and the page. "Oh, damn," he said. "Theodora Buchanan? Yeah, we know your sister's case. He'd be taller, though." "Oh." I didn't care enough to correct him. "Theo, not goddamn Theodora. Come on." He jostled from his stool and pushed the door wide. "I'll take you to Wesley. We don't bite." The inside of the cannery looked like a macabre perversion of a comic convention, its attendees stranger than I'd imagined. I entered the cave-like building and was greeted by glaring LED computer screens, star maps emblazoned across wide beams, glass cases stacked with artifacts, if you could call them that. Booths lined the walls and cordoned off aisles up and down the length of the concrete building, nearly every surface plastered with grainy photos of Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts. I spotted a Xerox photograph of Flora and me standing outside the ranger station, along with taped up photos of every other hiker, camper, and the like who made our park so famous. Above the collage was a hand-painted sign that read in vibrant letters, "Take a hike to another universe." My stomach faltered. The picture of Flora was the same that I had pinned up in the shed in my backyard, though it bore the evidence of being displayed in multiple forums on multiple occasions. My steps slowed. Over the heads of the convention goers, all I could see was her. For a moment, I debated leaving. A picture of my sister had no place among UFOs, ghost sightings, and connect-the-dots maps of supposed Bigfoot encounters in the West Virginia woods. The people milling about the booth, making mystery porn out of her disappearance, were no better than the man who yammered at my shoulder, pointing out various booths and displays. A man in a green unitard and a hat bearing the Illuminati pyramid emerged from the nearest booth, followed by a man in a startlingly orange Hawaiian shirt and a name tag with a sloppily written Wesley O'Shea, exhibitor. Even from here, I could see where he'd begun to write another name, so I had been right. This was an alias. Maybe he thought park rangers as violent and intrusive as other government agents. I couldn't blame him. Or maybe I could. As his sleeve shifted to reveal a Kraken tattoo stretched across freckled skin, I decided I could blame him for anything that I wanted. Seeing the dissonance between the empathy he'd extended online and the absolute mania in his grin now, I again had the urge to leave. It was just my luck that the only lead I had were socks with sandals. It was easier to compartmentalize the socks and the sandals than the map of the UFO sightings on the wall, the life-size Mothman in the corner, or the tinfoil hats I would surely spot at any minute. Wesley was buffeted through the eddying crowd, glad-handing and rapping shoulders like he was some kind of celebrity. I suppose I was the only one here who thought otherwise. I was likely the only one here playing with a full deck, but I was in too deep to shirk off any offer of help. "Theodora," he called. "So glad you came." A few heads turned, and an eruption of murmurs bubbled through the sea of bodies surrounding the booth. Of course they knew who I was. I was the spectacle. And that is where I'll call it. It's available through Quill and Crow, the publisher, also Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever books are sold. Thank your local cryptid.